Welcome to This Week in Cannabis Live. I am Jay Rosenthal. That is AnnaRae Grabstein. That is Jeremy Berke, one step over. Marc Hauser and Ben Larson. I don't even know where to point
He
to anymore.
almost had it.
Welcome, everybody.
He almost had it.
I mean, there's really nothing to talk about, so we might as well end this short. 30 seconds, is that good?
Bye, everybody.
Newsweek.
Good to see
Just
you.
kidding. I have a short clip, which will lead us into what we'll talk about most today. Give me one sec. I don't love playing Donald Trump speaking from the Resolute desk, but in this case, I will make an exception. Of the 1,461 days he'll be in office, this one I actually enjoyed listening to. Here we go.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that I will be signing an executive order to reschedule marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 controlled substance with legitimate medical uses. We have people begging for me to do this, people that are in great pain. For decades, this action has been requested by American patients suffering from extreme pain, incurable diseases, aggressive cancers, seizure disorders, neurological problems, and more, including numerous veterans with service-related injuries and older Americans who live with chronic medical problems that severely degrade their quality of life. And it's so really, I mean, just, I can't tell you, I think I probably have received more phone calls on this, on doing what we're doing. I don't think I received any calls on the other side of it.
Well, aside from taking a real shot at the anti-prohibitionists,
Yeah.
I saw you giving Donald Trump a cheer. How many of those have happened over the past year?
It's not often, but this is an exciting moment, and I just find it hilarious that he talks about how many calls he's received. I mean, This was basically a good job, lobbyists and piggy bank of policy. It worked. Don't give up. And there's been an enormous lobbying effort that's gone on, and I guess it worked this time. So this is really exciting, and I'm pumped today.
Yeah.
I want to correct the record slightly, though. That to be clear, what Trump is basically doing, which again is an amazing thing, and I think it's great. But he's basically restarting the process that Biden had started and that got sidelined when Trump came to office. I think there's a lot of credit that goes to Trump here. There's also credit that goes to Biden because, if Trump started this process today, de novo, we're already most of the way down the field because Biden started the process to have HHS come up with the opinion that there is a medical use, which is required for this to happen. So, but credit where credit is due. Trump is restarting the process, and it looks like it, has unless the DEA sidelines this, has a great chance of actually happening now.
Jay, you should give me the metaphor you texted me yesterday. I thought that was a good one.
This is my I have an ongoing criticism of Democrats' messaging around this and lots of other issues. I find myself in the crooked media camp on this, or actually
Me too.
I would say more of the Kara Swisher and Professor Galloway. But what I was saying is how Chuck Schumer doesn't say, "I'm glad Biden got this to the 1 yard line for Trump to run it to the end zone." I don't understand how they don't say that exact thing, but they didn't. So that's weird. But I also think, and this is to Mark's point, the fact that Biden didn't do it, I actually think pushed Trump to do it so he could say Biden didn't do it. If that makes sense. If that convoluted messaging makes sense. A lot of things he said in the night before in his messaging was how Biden screwed everything up and he was fixing it. This is sort of variations on a theme. It just happens to be about cannabis and an issue we care about.
Look, I mean, I don't think Biden was giving the sense of urgency that Trump has here. And so no. I don't know if I would say he got to the 1 yard line. He got the ball game started maybe. And now
first down.
Yeah, Trump is running it down the field. But let me say, I don't think this is now a Republican platform. We all know there is so much further to go in this. I do think the DEA is going to push it forward, but I think what we have to watch out for is the rulemaking process. We've seen rulemaking at state level initiatives really muck things up, Minnesota being the most recent example. And so we have to be Hawkeyes on this process. I think it will go through. Just how smoothly is it going to go through?
And there's been a real recent bifurcation of Trump policy to the rest of the Republican Party. There's starting to be people in Congress and the Senate that are feeling more comfortable thinking differently. And I wonder if during the rulemaking process, we're going to see a lot of Republicans pushing back on details that will really unlock opportunity.
Well, even in this, AnnaRae, even what you just said, if you stayed, it weren't bored to death with the Oval Office announcement, the questions were actually about just that around healthcare and Republicans peeling off. Jeremy, I mean this in a positive way. You've been hard to miss on this issue. You've been maybe next to Jake Tapper, more on CNN than anybody else. But give us what they're asking and sort of your thoughts about what's going on.
Yeah, I think two things. I think, what we wrote in the newsletter today, Marc, is absolutely correct. We have certainly been here before, right? I think we are taking a bit of a premature victory lap. The Biden administration first put forward the rule in 2022, and it's been 3 years, right? But, all that being said, and, I said this on, a podcast this morning, Trump should be commended for doing this, right? It does take a lot of political courage for a near octogenarian, teetotaling Republican president to be the one to push cannabis reform. Full stop. I mean, he should absolutely be commended. That being said, I personally, I haven't looked today. I've only seen the fact sheet that the White House put out. I have not seen the specific order. And so I think some questions will be answered from that. And secondly, right, the order used the word expedite, right? That is a political term, right? Like that pushes things ahead, but it's certainly not a legal term. And so I don't really know what expedite means. Does it mean that the DEA will just publish the rule without an administrative hearing process? I don't know. And so, there's a lot of questions that are unanswered. I think, the victory lap, this is a done deal, is a little premature. However, like I said last week, we're a yard away, right? And so this does need to happen, and it does need to get there.
I do want to just highlight the fact that he said that there was no opposition that called in, and I don't know. I'm like, Kevin Sabet did not sleep on this one. Like, Sam has been very active. Is it concerning that no one called Trump?
Well, maybe he's not telling the truth.
Oh,
no,
he would never do that.
We know it's total.
Go ahead, Jay.
Bullshit. We know it's total bullshit because we know the Speaker of the House was on a call with the president expressing his displeasure with this idea. I mean, that was reported in the the Washington Post.
Washington Post, yeah.
He got calls about it for sure. My guess is if the Speaker of the House was forceful or against this, there were other Republicans he was speaking for, and he probably heard it. So, yes,
yeah,
Marc, shocking to hear the president bend the truth like this, but I think that's okay.
I was just going to say it's actually quite obvious that many in the Republican caucus are against this. I mean, 22 senators sent him a letter right before he went, or not right before, a couple hours before he went out, right? And so, look, 22 isn't the full, Senate composition, but it's a lot, right? And so clearly there is some consternation within his own party to do this. The last thing I will say, the difference, I'm not a political scientist, not an expert in this, but anecdotally speaking, Biden did appoint people who have expertise in their fields to lead agencies, and Trump thinks expertise means do they agree with me or do they not agree with me? And so, look, I think the chances are less that Trump's three-letter agency stonewall him on this front, regardless of the personnel at the DEA. Trump commands loyalty, and while AnnaRae's point is well taken that there are Republicans that are now free to disagree with him more so than there were earlier this year, I do think that this is one of those instances where Trump commanding loyalty and trying to run the federal government like a king might actually work to the cannabis industry's favor here.
And Politico published a great article about the lobbyists, and I've got it here. They say they're tracking 26 lobbying registrations related to cannabis, which are up more than 60% from last year and double since Trump's first term in office. So I think that what we're seeing is that engagement in DC is working, and now we need to broaden that. Trump did the thing. And now there's a whole bunch of other things that need to happen next. But the signal is that being engaged financially in DC is worthwhile right now. And so the industry is going to listen to that. There have been a lot of investments over the years in state level programs opening up. Now it's time to open up the federal program, and let's invest in the resources to get it done where it needs to happen. And if that's safe banking next, or whatever the next bill is, or the rulemaking process for Schedule 3, I think we're going to see the industry step up to be able to expedite the process and keep it moving, because now there's momentum.
It was actually that point I want to not shift to, but like, what are the, I guess, immediate, medium, long term? What do we know? What don't we know? Does it affect banking on the retail level? Does it affect payments? Like, do we know anything like that, Marc, lawyer?
No, I mean, it won't. It won't. It doesn't change any of that. You know, again, the only two things this actually definitely changes are 280E no longer applies. 280E doesn't go away. 280E still exists as a tax code provision. It just no longer applies. Whether it apply, you know, whether the IRS then allows it to apply retroactively is unknown. And it, you know, and in theory, it opens up more research into it. But again, you know, that's research that requires DEA licensing, you know, DEA permitting in order to get that research done. So, you know, and with the federal government having pulled back so much research, you know, funding in the US, you know, it's a little bit of a, you know, it's a little hollow. My concern is that you've got, you know, we talk about what the rulemaking will be. I mean, there's not a ton of rulemaking. It's, you know, basically moving it from one place on the schedule to another. But what I worry about is, does Congress try to, you know, there's a bill out there to I forgot what it's called, but basically say 280E would still apply.
Yeah, it's Senate Bill 471, no deductions for Marijuana Businesses Act.
Yeah.
So,
you know, and
we need to kill that.
Yeah, in theory, you know, even if the House and Senate passed that, in theory, Trump could veto it. But, you know, you know, nothing is settled. And that's, you know, that's where the concern is. And also just, you know, the other thing to be worried about is the, and where the energy should be is focusing on, you know, the lawsuits that are going to be filed by, you know, by SAM, you know, what is it, safe alternatives to marijuana. You know, there will be lawsuits. And so that's going to be, that to me is where the energy should be. You know, safe banking is this red herring to me, but.
I can also, I'm not going to break news, but I can share a very confirmed rumor. I mean, thinking through whether I should say this. Well, I hear that Sam, Smart Approaches Marijuana, is hiring Bill Barr to fight this. And so Bill Barr is a serious, obviously, former Attorney General, former Trump Attorney General, who has a pretty terrible relationship with the president, but he's a serious attorney. And so, like Marc's point, absolutely true. There's going to be many legal challenges against this. The industry needs to, you know, put on a united front if they want this to happen and they want to beat back some of those challenges.
I just, what's the lawsuit? I mean, what's the grounds for a lawsuit? Like the federal government themselves have proven for decades that cannabis has medical applications and that it's not as highly addictive as other substances. Like it's definitively the right move. So I hope they waste a ton of money doing this.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with that is like,
you're right. Yeah.
If something is stalled or rulemaking is delayed until such time as blah blah blah. Because I think one thing we all know is that nothing is imminent, right? Expedite. I think that's the word Jeremy was talking about. Like that word, literally nothing. Certainly in the federal government context, it doesn't mean anything. And so fast action is certainly not what will happen. But I am interested, AnnaRae and Ben, something we mentioned before we came live, is certainly before this rescheduling conversation, while we were in Las Vegas, the beginning of December, it was a lot about hemp and the rule and the sort of ban of hemp that was coming into effect in 300, at that point, 60 days. Now it's, you know, 340 something. Like, what is the sort of hemp-derived world talking about in relationship to this? And is there any sort of, are people reading tea leaves of what the president either said or what the highlights that are coming out are talking about that we should sort of have our ear towards?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk and it's very noisy and it's all over the place. And so I'll just kind of give you my take, and I think what the general sentiment is that this definitively kind of opened the door to have further discussions about what is hemp. And even the president himself, who is not a big fan of intoxicants, was kind of pretty loose about like what was going to be allowable kind of in the future. But he said we need clear guidelines. He did talk about ratios, which I know is an old talk track of the hemp industry in the past. That's how we ended up with these 1-20 or 1-15 ratios, which I just think is kind of problematic because it always opens the door for people to work around in loopholes, so to speak. But if anything, it was really interesting to see hemp get so much airplay, and then in reading Natalie Fertig's post, which great to have her back. Natalie, we missed you. It's great to have you back on the Cannabis Beat. Anyways, the fact that this was actually going to be all about CBD and hemp, and then Schedule 3 kind of snuck in afterwards. And so it was more of a hemp announcement than it was going to be a Schedule 3 announcement, which I found really interesting. But going back to the winners or the people that deserve some accolades, Howard Kessler and Kim Rivers of True Leaf. So nice to see Kim actually get a win after being dealt the loss in Florida last year.
Yes. And they win every day with the quasi-monopoly in Florida as well. So like nobody's crying for Kim Rivers, but I appreciate the sentiment too. She's been called out a number of
crying
times.
a river for Kim.
Oh, that's good. Did I say that? No, I didn't.
No.
AnnaRae, what say you on this front?
So in the information that the White House put out, they specifically talked about 15% of seniors in the U.S. have used CBD in the last year. And then in that same paragraph, they talk about the importance of THC as well as a part of a full spectrum experience for CBD. And so I think that's the other thing that gives some hope to those in the hemp space, that there will be more than 0.4 milligrams of THC allowed, which is what's currently suggested in the language from the appropriations bill. Does that mean that they're going to make carve-outs for form factors, or that they're going to allow adult versus medical products to be allowed? None of that is insinuated in the language, but I think that the simple inclusion of THC into the CBD discussion, along with the inclusion of the term full spectrum, provides some optimism for those that are searching for it.
Yeah.
See, I want. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to shift. When you're done, I want to shift to another realm of this.
Just I read the whole thing a little more narrowly, which again, I could be totally wrong, but to me, it was, the whole point of it was about CBD. It wasn't about THC. And so, and so me, I mean, that's the plain read of it. And so it's a question of, do you dive more deeply into it? The other, so it's, I would say it's ambiguous. None of us know, but to me, the difference though, is that to do anything with respect to hemp, with respect to THC and CBD and all of that, requires Congress to act. Whereas at least with the rescheduling of cannabis, that's purely an administrative process. And so it is, the path is very different. And I think that that's something that gets a little sort of mixed up here, is because there is now a law, there is a federal law that now defines hemp a different way. That needs to be changed if that's going to open up, to reflect what Trump is trying to get out of this executive order.
Yeah.
But Trump is saying that he is open-minded, even though earlier I was saying that Republicans are choosing a different path than some Trump policy in some ways. It is likely that there will be a continued discussion about what was the hemp ban on November 12th. And this policy document put out from the White House can be interpreted in a lot of different ways that I think could help the policy discussion that Congress is inevitably going to have before this next CR that's coming up, or for future farm bill or appropriations discussions, wherever they may be.
I think that's the important part, right? Because like what happened in November felt very definitive. And a lot of the medicine that became outlawed because of that are things like Charlotte's Web and the medicine that Charlotte Figge consumed. And it was so incredible to see Paige Figge standing there and potentially even walking away with a memento, where, like, what a moment. And in that moment, realizing that, oh, we are reopening this hemp consideration. And so it was a win for the hemp industry in the fact that this conversation is still very much open.
Could I shift? Yes, all of that. And I want to shift to, like, I mean, Jeremy, we all probably got thousands of emails to put these quotes in our newsletters and talk about them. But there, even in day one, there was actual business news, and we're going to save our predictions for, I think it's January 2nd, we'll come live and predictions for 2026. But if deal making is not one of your predictions, I think it will be by January 2nd. Like, Jeremy, we've heard a lot about, like, people making comments like, this will open up the deal flow considerably. And then I think Tilray made an announcement. I would expect certainly a number of the other Canadian companies put out statements about what it means for them and their sort of related businesses in the US. Like, it's gonna be a mad scurry in January.
Yeah, thanks for front running my prediction, Jay. I appreciate that. No, but you know, the point is absolutely correct. I think it was no accident that Tilray, they sort of spun up a Tilray USA medical division and you know, put that on the news wire as soon as the announcement came. There's a little bit of, you know, stock price engineering there, I'm sure, that goes into it. But no, absolutely. I mean, I think this, beyond a symbolic move, once it actually hits, getting rid of the 280E tax, like, there's a lot of free cash flow unlocked for these businesses to reinvest, create jobs, grow, pursue acquisitions, and do all the things that normal emerging sectors can do. And so I think it's going to be a really exciting time to cover it. The other quick piece I'll say on that is, because of its NASDAQ listing, Tilray functions as a sort of, you know, public interest index in the cannabis sector, because it's kind of the company that people know. People remember the run up in 2018, 2019, and they're able to buy it on Robinhood and retail trading apps. And so, you know, even though Tilray is far from the best way to play US incremental cannabis reform, it is sort of an index for how much people are interested in. And the stock went up, I think, almost 50% before, you know, people sold the news a little bit. And so it's pretty fascinating to see that. And, you know, you can watch and see, like, I know that I'll get requests for media appearances when I see Tilray stock going up. And so that's kind of the way I think about it.
Yeah, Jeremy gets those calls now. Those are, I had to explain the stock run up in 2018. And Jeremy knows my experience with talking about stocks. It was also during a holiday just like this, where, like, nobody was in town. They were like, Jay, you seem to know something. I was like, I really don't. Really don't.
Neither do I, to be honest. But I mean, my corporate finance professor would probably be sad that I said that, actually. So
yeah, you got to take the Columbia sweatshirt off.
I think it was, you know, I mean, I've always said and maintained that you know, the cannabis stock prices bear little relation to reality and fundamentals. And I think, you know, the run up and then crash in the past few days is a good example of that. I mean, you know, yes, I mean, these companies will benefit at, you know, down the road once the, you know, what I would say is they should pop when the rescheduling actually takes effect. Until then, it's, you know, it's all just sort of prediction. But you know, a lot of the crash, from the best I could tell, occurred on 2 days ago or yesterday, when, if you look at the exact moment when the release occurred, and if you were reading the chatter on, you know, on the various social media among cannabis stock traders, it was because everybody was expecting, there was a rumor that it would also cover banking, and it didn't. And for whatever reason, cannabis stock traders are very highly focused on safe banking, thinking that it will be the savior of this industry. I'm not being hyperbolic. They are so focused on that point. And when it wasn't in there, they sold. It was very odd. It was very
I think
odd.
there is some. There may be some. I mean, this is a little bit conspiratorial, but you know, it's MSOS is very thinly traded. It's a lot of retail. the bigger funds that are in there have a broad capability to manipulate the market based on where the options are priced. And so I think there may have been, Marc, to your point, like it's certainly possible there is some of that going on, that some hedge funds are trading this in a way that squeezes out retail. Because to your point, like you don't see a 27% drop on a sell the news event. I don't think. I have not personally seen that.
Well, Jeremy, you're about to get some calls from the SEC.
They can take.
Even
they can
though
take my bank account. Go ahead.
even though safe banking does not provide an explicit pathway to uplisting onto a U.S. exchange right now, I do think that those cannabis investors think that is the next thing that will happen following banking. And from a stock perspective, uplisting will be one of the biggest unlocks for the cannabis industry, absolutely, unquestionably. Because look at Tilray compared to all of the US operators that are listed in Canada and what their stock looks like. It's night and day.
Yeah, this is all very bad news for the Toronto Stock Exchange and the Canadian Securities Exchange. They must be they're looking for their next wave of emerging businesses, for sure.
But is that safe banking that will allow it to get uplisted, or is it going to be descheduling? Because porn is legal, but porn companies still have hard times finding banking.
It's actually NASDAQ policy. So it's internal NASDAQ compliance and New York Stock Exchange. Each of the stock exchanges have their own, just like Visa and MasterCard, have their own terms and conditions in order to participate. And theirs don't allow U.S. illegal companies today.
But won't the company still be illegal under Schedule 3 with safe banking? Schedule 3 plus safe banking doesn't mean legal. We're still an illegal industry.
That's why it will be unlikely to actually sway the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ. Yeah, it's not impossible, but it is not. It's not as in the bag as
well. Maybe more
money talks, I guess.
Maybe more directly, will it sway Visa and MasterCard?
Nah, I mean, maybe.
Well. Can I do shameless self-promotion? Is it shameless self-promotion time? Because we have an event coming up on Monday. Jeremy's leading a conversation about banking implications of cannabis rescheduling. What's next? It's with our partners at Shield Compliance. We'll also have Scott Muskell and Brian Barish. Scott from a law firm in Boston and Brian certainly from Dutchy. And so we will have a conversation about what it actually does mean. That's on Monday. You can register on our LinkedIn page. Many of you are watching there now. But I think it is... there's lots of prognostication or wish casting of what this does mean for banking, sort of for uplisting, listing in the US, but also more sort of grassroots. Does it mean that we will be able to take credit cards at dispensaries? That is a legitimate question.
It doesn't. I'll answer it right now. We'll still do your webinar. But,
I just think the title needs to be changed every little bit. It's we got rescheduling. What's next?
Okay, there we go. Sure.
Yeah.
It is I don't want to use the bad term, but opinions are like blank. Everybody has one. And certainly if you are on Cannabis LinkedIn or Cannabis Twitter, everybody has an opinion. Any that you saw this week that were interesting or unique? Anyone?
That's a good question.
I didn't get to read it all, but Rick Fox did a post today that really dives into the dark side of Schedule 3 and big pharma and the implications that has on cannabis business. And I think there's just a lot of prognostication on what that means. And I'm not too worried about it because we've been a Schedule 1 industry operating alongside the federal government, and now we're Schedule 3. But big pharma getting involved, I just don't think there's a lot of crossover because the plant is so dynamic. There's so many cannabinoids, and anything that we know about pharmaceuticals, it's highly tuned, highly repeatable, and I just don't see a lot of crossover. Marinol and Epidiolex are very different than the broader cannabis industry.
Yeah. And the cost of getting FDA approval for a drug is millions of dollars in years of testing. Why would a pharmaceutical company do that unless they have a very specific indication, just as you're saying, Ben? That's why I think it's it's a straw. What's a straw man? Is that the right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally
if the real unlock is 280E, I'm waiting for someone to tell me when we can take 280E penalty off the books, and when I get to start working on re-engineering chart of accounts with cannabis executives to look at what like the future really looks like without 280E, and a world where cultivators don't need to be shoving every single expense into cost of goods sold to try to deal with taxes, and like get to look at financials that compare to other kind of manufacturing based industries in a way that we can compare them, because the financial reports that cannabis businesses create, while compliant in their own right, do not follow the same rules that other spaces use for general accounting practices, because they're needing to do all of this complicated tax maneuvering. So I'm excited about that. I don't know if anybody has really said when we get to turn off the 280E penalty, but I'm excited to understand when that is.
Well, and that's why I really imploring people that the next step is keep a very close eye on rulemaking, because who knows what's going to happen during that. And then Senate Bill 471. We have to make sure that doesn't exit committee and go through the process,
or get tacked onto some other bill unrelated.
Right.
Man.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a bigger risk, I think, because that, especially something the president can't veto, because relying on a presidential veto is a fool's errand, at least on a single bill in this case. I was having some fun with Sora this week. Do you want to see what I came up with? That's the Donald J. Trump bomb at the White House. Of course, it's gold. I was quite impressed with the AI part of this, that it got the reflection of the other side of the room, which is, pretty good. Marc,
That's good.
want me to frame this?
That is so good. It is so good. Will someone please make that and send it to all of us? I will take a bong hit on this live podcast of that bong if someone will send it to me.
If we could just turn that into a CAD drawing and send it off to AnnaRae, you will be rewarded handsomely.
I think the right word is it's a shanda.
It's a shunda. Yeah,
You're
right.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. Yeah.
For those, it's a disgrace. How's that? Yeah.
It's the promotion time of the show. AnnaRae, Ben, anything to promote aside from our prediction show in January?
Just come check us out at High Spirits Podcast, High Spirits Pod, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, LinkedIn, all the places.
Awesome. Marc?
Yes.
Subscribe to Cannabis Musings on Substack.
You will be smarter if you do. Jeremy, any appearances we should know about?
No, I think that's it. I think on Tuesday I'm going to go hibernate for a week, and then so everyone's not too sick of me, and then we'll see you all in January.
Yeah,
I think everyone should do that. I think everyone is due for a little bit of a break and just taking some time off. That's what I'm
totally. I couldn't agree more.
It's been a year.
Our newsletter will go out 1 or 2 times next week. That's going to be up to Jeremy.
Yeah,
Jeremy
2 times.
A webinar on Monday about cannabis banking in the age of rescheduling, although AnnaRae just gave away the punchline. And on January 29th, Jeremy and I and the team from Gotham will be at the Green Space at WNYC in New York for the High Rise, a new event we have launched. So if you go to thehighrise.nyc, you can apply to attend. We will see, 150 of our best friends there at the end of January. AnnaRae, Ben, and Marc, if you can get to New York, let us know, because we will welcome you with open New York arms to that event. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I can't believe I'm going to say thank you, President Trump, for signing the executive order. We will unpack it all in 2026. We'll have our prediction show on January 2nd. AnnaRae, Jeremy, Marc, Ben, have a good weekend, a good holiday, and we will see you in the new year.
Thank you.